You think human love is the most terrifying love on Earth? Wrong, that's because you've never been underwater. 3,000 meters down in the ocean lives a fish. The male spends his entire life doing one thing, finding a female. Then he bites down hard, fuses with her, and dissolves himself. That's right. His whole body slowly liquefies, mouth, eyes, organs, everything disappears bit by bit. In the end, only a pair of testicles remain, dangling off the female. Scientists gave this process a name. They call it parasitic mating. But let me tell you, that name is way too polite. The reality is that this male fish turns himself into a breathing reproductive organ. Their blood vessels connect, their nervous systems merge. He doesn't even feel pain anymore. Because his brain has already degenerated. What's even scarier, scientists have seen a single female with up to 8 males attached to her body, like a string of rotting sausages. In 1986, a deep-sea submersible in the Mariana Trench captured this on film. The entire lab crew fell silent after watching the footage. One biologist threw up on the spot. This fish is called the anglerfish, the most successful hunter in the deep sea, and the most twisted reproducer on Earth. Hello, Earthlings, I'm Bushuo. Today we're talking about anglerfish. But what's even more shocking came later. In 2005, scientists at the Norwegian Institute of Marine Research were dissecting a female anglerfish when they discovered something that overturned everything we knew. The DNA of the males attached to her was completely different from each other. What does that mean? It means the female wasn't just accepting one partner, she was simultaneously hosting multiple males from different families, different bloodlines. Among vertebrates, this is absolutely unheard of. You know how hard organ transplants are for humans? Even between biological siblings, you need lifelong immunosuppressants. But anglerfish? They simply deleted the key genes of their immune system. A 2020 study published in the journal Science showed that the MHC genes in anglerfish, the ones responsible for recognizing self from foreign, are almost completely deactivated. What does that mean? It's like they voluntarily dismantled their body's firewall, allowing any intruder to permanently implant itself. But nature's cruelty never gives any creature a break. So what kind of hell does a male anglerfish go through? He's born on the seafloor, 2,000 to 4,000 meters down in the midnight zone. The pressure there is 200 to 400 times that at sea level, equivalent to 200 kilograms of weight per square centimeter. There's no sunlight. The water temperature is near freezing. Food is even scarcer than in the Sahara Desert. A newborn male anglerfish is only 5 to 8 centimeters long and weighs less than 20 grams. He doesn't have the female's glowing lure or the enormous jaws to tear prey apart. He doesn't even have a complete digestive system. The only thing he has is a tiny store of fat in his liver, his mother's entire legacy to him, and his only fuel. How long can that energy last? Scientists calculated based on metabolic rate, at most 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks to find a specific female in the pitch-black deep sea. How low are the odds? It's like being blindfolded and trying to find one particular person somewhere in all of China. It's like Louis XVI washing his head and having no idea what he's doing. And you only have a month and a half. Fail, and you starve, straight to game over. Even more hopeless. He doesn't even have the luxury of making a mistake. There are over 200 species of deep-sea anglerfish, and each species releases a different pheromone. If a male latches onto the wrong species, only 2 outcomes exist: either he gets eaten as prey, or the biochemical signals don't match, the parasitism fails, and he still starves. So they evolved one of the most sensitive olfactory systems on Earth. A male anglerfish's olfactory receptors take up a third of his brain. He can detect a female's pheromone at concentrations of 10^1 molar. What does that mean? It's like being able to smell a single drop of a specific perfume in the entire Pacific Ocean. When he finally catches that deadly signal in the last few days of his life, all rationality collapses. He burns his last bit of energy, madly darting toward the source of the scent. At that moment, only one thought fills his mind: bite it. Even if it's a monster 100 times his size. Even if he could be swallowed whole the next second. He gambles his life and bites down, because if he doesn't bite, certain death awaits. If he bites, at least there's a chance to survive. The moment his jaws clamp shut, something even more incredible happens: his lips start secreting a special protease. This enzyme isn't for digesting food, it's for dissolving his own skin and the female's epidermis. 2 pieces of flesh begin to fuse, like 2 candles being heated, slowly sticking together. Blood vessels start to grow into each other, intertwining, connecting. Nerve endings touch, align, and merge into one. 72 hours later, the fusion is complete. From this moment on, the male fish's heart stops beating, because it no longer needs a heart. The female's blood will provide it with oxygen and nutrients through a shared circulatory system. Its stomach begins to shrink, because it no longer needs to digest food. Its eyes start to degenerate, because it no longer needs to find direction. The cerebral cortex begins to break down, because it no longer needs to think. In the end, this once independently swimming life is reduced to a lump of flesh less than 2 centimeters long, containing only a still-functioning testis and a few strands of tissue connecting to blood vessels. It loses all freedom, dignity, and independent life form, in exchange for a humble promise, the continuation of its genes. But do you think the female has it any easier? Adult female anglerfish can grow up to 1.2 meters long and weigh over 25 kilograms. They are the most terrifying ambush predators in the deep sea. Their head makes up 60% of their body, and their mouth can open to 150 degrees. The jaw joint can dislocate instantly, swallowing prey as large as itself. The glowing lure on its head, scientifically called the esca, evolved from the first spine of the dorsal fin. Inside the light organ at the tip of the lure live billions of bioluminescent bacteria. These bacteria produce cold light through the oxidation of luciferin. The female can control the intensity and frequency of the light by constricting blood vessels, mimicking the movement patterns of small fish and shrimp, luring prey closer. But even with such powerful hunting abilities, the female's life is not easy. The deep-sea food chain is extremely fragile. Sometimes she may not encounter prey for a month. She must remain in a state of prolonged hunger. Metabolism reduced to a minimum, drifting silently in the darkness, waiting for the next meal to come along. Even more critical is reproduction. The deep sea is too vast and empty. The probability of 2 anglerfish meeting is so small it can be considered negligible. If they relied on traditional external fertilization, the eggs released by the female and the sperm released by the male would have almost zero chance of meeting in deep ocean currents. What does this mean? It means extinction. So having the male permanently attached to her body, always on standby, becomes the safest strategy. Moreover, research has found that some species of female anglerfish have even evolved sperm storage sacs, capable of storing the male's sperm for months, releasing eggs for fertilization at the most opportune moment. In 2018, data released by the Max Planck Institute in Germany was even more shocking. A female anglerfish can lay between 1 million and 3 million eggs at once. These eggs are encased in a gelatinous egg mass up to 9 meters long, drifting in the deep sea like a giant curtain. But fewer than 1 in 10,000 survive to adulthood. That is the truth of the deep sea. Extreme environments force extreme survival strategies. And what fascinates scientists most is the evolutionary logic behind this system. From a genetic perspective, male and female anglerfish can no longer be considered fully independent individuals. They are more like 2 functional modules of a single superorganism. The female is responsible for hunting and movement, while the male specializes in providing sperm. This extreme division of labor achieves a theoretically optimal efficiency. But at what cost? The cost is the death of the individual. The male anglerfish gives up all rights as an independent life, in exchange for the certainty of gene transmission. From the cold calculus of evolution, this trade-off is very worthwhile. After all, genes are eternal, individuals are only temporary vessels. Evolution does not care about your feelings, your dignity, or whether you're willing. It cares about only one thing: whether your genes get passed on. Those male fish that refused to fuse and insisted on independence were eliminated by natural selection 10,000 years ago. The ones that survived were those willing to sacrifice themselves, cowards. But it is these cowards that have allowed anglerfish to persist on Earth for over 100 million years. Speaking of this, a chilling question comes to mind: if we stretch the timescale long enough, will humans also evolve into some form of extreme specialization? Look at our society now. Technological division of labor becomes finer. Individuals grow increasingly dependent on systems. Some specialize in thinking, some in labor, some in reproduction. Are we still truly whole humans, or have we already become functional organs of a superorganism called society? The male anglerfish lost itself through physical fusion, and we, through division of labor, technological dependence, algorithm feeding. We surrender our independence bit by bit. When you can't live without your phone, without the internet, without food delivery, what's the essential difference between you and that male fish biting into the female? We mock the anglerfish's perversion, but we don't realize that we, too, are dissolving into the current of our age in a different way. The only difference is that the anglerfish does it for the continuation of its species, while we often don't even know what we're doing it for. before we've already lost ourselves. But then again, perhaps this is the truth of life. No strategy is inherently noble or base, what matters is surviving in desperate circumstances. Being able to pass on your genes is the greatest success. The male anglerfish sacrifices everything. But his genes truly live on. From the perspective of the universe, compared to those independent, proud species that ultimately die alone, who is the real winner? In the darkness 3,000 meters deep in the ocean, the anglerfish answers life's most fundamental question in the most extreme way: what is the point of living? The answer is simple, and cruel: to not disappear. To leave behind a little warmth in this cold universe, even if it's just a sequence of genes. Even if it's just a tiny proof of existence. That is the story of the anglerfish, and the story of all life.